production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, antibiotics and animal production are back in the news, this time at the White House.
In the food factor, water. Find out why it really is the best drink for you.
In Southern Gardening, getting tired of watering your plants? Gary Bachman will show us that some self-water from underneath.
In the markets, the rice industry may finally see an improving supply-demand situation, while cotton futures are under pressure due in part to a stronger dollar.
In the feature segment, a photography project called Farm Her is documenting the ways women are involved in production agriculture.
I woke my husband up literally at like 2 in the morning and I was like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start photographing women farmers or women in agriculture, not just farmers, you know, ranchers, whatever, in all types of agriculture.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
Antibiotics and animal agriculture was back in the news this week with a closed-door forum held at the White House.
Leighton, more than 150 industry, academic, and advocacy groups met at the White House summit to discuss the prevention of antibiotic resistance in humans and animals. The closed-door meeting had some names attending that you will recognize. Politico.com reported that Walmart, Tyson Chicken, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture were among those in attendance. The use of human antibiotics to promote growth in livestock is already scheduled to end in coming years. Meanwhile, the White House also announced Tuesday that later this year, many federal cafeterias will start buying meat and poultry produced with fewer antibiotics. The directive would apply to all civilian government restaurants within 5 years. And while we're on the subject, Brownfield reports that Foster Farms, a major western poultry producer, has announced that it will eventually eliminate its use of all antibiotics used in human medicine.
Well, another state 4-H Congress is in the books. Congress is, of course, the annual event where young people involved in the Extension Service's Youth Development Program come to Mississippi State for 3 days of educational and social activities. This year's theme, 4-H, Your Ticket to the Future, was highlighted by keynote speaker Samantha Webb Laird of Mississippi Farm Bureau. Laird told the students her 4-H experience prepared her to be successful.
Today, 10 years after the end of my 4-H career, it is more evident to me than ever just how broad the impact of being involved in 4-H has been on my life. I find myself calling upon the tools that I developed and sharpened through my 4-H experiences daily, and I have no doubt that my 4-H career helped mold me and guide me toward my current career with Mississippi Farm Bureau.
Every county in Mississippi was represented at State Congress by a delegation of 4-H members, volunteer adult leaders, and extension agents. Well, this summer, regardless of whether you're at home or traveling, there's one companion you need to have within reach. In this week's episode of The Food Factor, Natasha Haynes of the Mississippi State University Extension Service says water needs to be your beverage of choice.
Whether it's mowing the yard, washing the car, or working in the garden, we spend a lot of time outdoors in the summer months. It's important to drink plenty of fluids to prevent dehydration. Without ample water, you can experience muscle cramping, heat exhaustion, or heat strokes. So what is the best way to prevent this problem? Water. It's the perfect beverage. It's calorie-free, sugar-free, fat-free, and usually free at a restaurant.
Hi, what can I get y'all to drink?
Water.
Alrighty.
Try these strategies to make water your #1 beverage. Keep water and other calorie-free beverages on hand at work, at home, and in the car. Make it easy for everyone to choose water. Carry a water bottle with you and refill it throughout the day. Add a slice of lemon, lime, or orange to jazz up your water. Make a pitcher of water with fruit slices and keep it in the refrigerator. Add a splash of fruit juice to still or sparkling water. You can even add fresh mint for an interesting twist. Whew! These Mississippi summers can be brutal. Remember to take breaks and make water your #1 beverage. It's time to make healthy food a factor in your life.
Natasha says choosing water over a soft drink or sport drink is a great way to save on daily calories as well.
Well, do you want an easy way to garden in the smallest patch of sunshine? In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman tells us about the ease of gardening in sub-irrigated containers.
Today I want to share a newer gardening trend of growing in sub-irrigated containers. These containers are great for those that have small yards or even just a porch or balcony. This is the commercially available model that I use extensively in my garden called an earth box, but there are others available. It features a reservoir where the water is wicked up into the growing mix like a sponge. This keeps the root zone moisture very consistent. Let's put one together. Always use potting mix that is designed for use in containers. Never use garden dirt. This container will hold 2 cubic feet of mix. The mix is poured in, compacted, and watered in stages. Dolomite is added for the calcium and magnesium. The fertilizer is placed on top of the mix, and in this case I'm using a granular variety. The wicking of the water will slowly dissolve the fertilizer over time to feed the plants. When you're finished, the container should be mounded and resemble a loaf of bread. I'm going to put this plastic cover on the container to control evaporation. This means the only water that the system loses is what the plants transpire, plus there's no weeding. Now simply cut slits to accommodate your transplants. The number of plants will depend on what you decide to grow. Watering is easy, since all you need to do is fill the watering tube until you see the water come out the reservoir overflow. Sub-irrigated containers aren't only for vegetables. Here's one with tomatoes, but as you can see, colorful flowering plants will love them too. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Leighton, Gary says that you should water less with a sub-irrigated container and your plants will get the water they need when they need it. In our feature segment today, Farm Her. It's a photographic documentary of women working in production agriculture. Time now for the markets with Leighton Spann, and U.S. cotton export sales and shipments are running strong as June begins.
But that doesn't necessarily translate into higher prices. The important part this fall for this year's crop. Some analysis coming up. Also ahead this week in the markets, U.S. ethanol groups are not happy with the renewable fuel standard proposal from the government. An improved supply-demand picture for rice may be developing, and U.S. supplies of red meat and poultry in cold storage are growing. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's proposed renewable fuel volumes put out May 29th are not as high as the biodiesel industry wanted, but a spokesman for biodiesel's national board tells Brownfield Ag News at least there's a roadmap now and a process. The industry feels the slightly higher volumes in the RFS proposal will get U.S. biodiesel growing again and put some people back to work. However, the biodiesel sector plans to work to get those numbers in the document beefed up even more. Meanwhile, on the opposite end of the spectrum, as far as reaction to the Environmental Protection Agency proposal, is the U.S. ethanol industry. Ethanol producers were not happy at all with the fuel volumes announced May 29th, using words like extremely disappointed and calling the document inconsistent with the law. The Ethanol Coalition thinks the methodology used by the EPA was all wrong. The Iowa Corn Growers Association is even accusing EPA head Gina McCarthy of siding with big oil rather than farmers. And the CEO of Poet ethanol plants in the Midwest says the announced targets, as he put it, fall well short of rural America's potential to produce low-cost, clean-burning ethanol. The EPA proposal is open for public comment now through July 27th. Ethanol groups say they are hoping to mount a grassroots campaign to change those requirements. Well, the corn market itself has some potential this summer, according to analyst Naomi Bloom. She says she is going to be keeping her eye, though, on the upcoming June 30th acreage report from the government for any possible surprises that will have some bearing on what new crop prices do.
We don't have a reason yet to see the corn market rally, but just like wheat, I think it's done going down. And we're really in a good situation that if there's any surprises on the June planting intentions report of even smaller acres, if we have yield of 161, which is still a big number, that puts ending stocks at 1.27, which is way underpriced for corn right now, and the market would need to react and move higher because that would mean the stocks to use ratio is at 9%. So the corn market has potential this summer, but it depends on the end of June report and what the July weather is like for pollination.
Many market analysts seem to agree that an improved supply and demand situation for the global rice industry is at hand. However, the USDA's Economic Research Service says this doesn't mean world rice prices will move higher anytime soon. The world is expected to have record rice crops in 2015-16, with production up 1% from last year. But total supplies are expected to decline for a second consecutive year due to a smaller carry-in. And world rice consumption is now projected to increase by 1% from last year. Well, agvax.com reports the cotton market continues to be plagued with weak demand, a result of what they say is a couple of years of high cotton prices and now low oil prices, which act as a disincentive for manufacturers to switch back to cotton from competing polyesters. Large expected ending stocks in China are also adding pressure. Analyst Don Roos terms cotton a supply bear market, one that could see lower prices by fall.
Well, I think when you look at it, the cotton plantings are slow, but also the moisture has improved. You had people planting on dry land cotton that we haven't seen for a number of years, some cases 4 years. The cotton market is much the same as the other commodity markets. In the around 2009, 2010, we went down to 40. Now we're sitting around $60. So, this market is one that with soybeans and everything else leaking lower, it also is a supply bear market. Of course, China holds most of the cards from what happens from the supply-demand standpoint, but they're bloated with stocks also. So we think it's a market that probably wants to leak lower as we go into the fall.
Time to break for a trivia quiz on Farm Week. We'll talk soil this week. There are 12 types of soil found in the world. How many types of soil does Mississippi have? Is the answer 2, 4, 6, or 8? You'll find out in a few more minutes.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the rest of the markets. Leighton Spann says the latest cold storage report shows larger meat stocks. In the feature segment today, there are a lot of farmers who are farm-hers. This woman is telling their stories.
They say this is the information age, where people can instantly find any answers they're looking for. Yet, so many of us still can't figure out how to feel better. Well, here's a suggestion: eat better. And what better place than a Mississippi farmer's market to help you do just that? Locally grown fruits and vegetables are healthy, picked at the peak of quality and freshness to help you feel better.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Museum will host its first Mississippi Ag and Forestry Expo on Friday, June 12th. The hours are 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. The museum is located on Lakeland Drive at I-55 in Jackson. A number of landowner and grower seminars will be held, including poultry, wild hog control, deer management, hardwood timber management, and farm bill information for landowners. There will be demonstrations of state-of-the-art farm equipment. Admission is free and a catfish lunch will be served. A field day focusing on helping small farmers to increase profits will be held Friday, June 19th. The hours are 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. The location is the demonstration farm of the Alliance for Sustainable Ag Production. It's located on Coleman Road, 1 mile west of Highway 51. That's between Goodman and Durant. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
The United States is looking at larger meat stocks sitting in coolers right now. The U.S. red meat supply in cold storage at the end of April was up sharply from just 1 year ago. The USDA says that is likely because of increased pork production. Also, the relatively high retail price of beef and a wet, cool weather pattern in some areas that delayed the start of grilling season. The amount of beef in cold storage was up 18%. Pork was 20% higher. Poultry stocks also surged due to increased production and the weather. The amount of chicken in cold storage is up 31% compared to a year ago. The USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service is at the root of a little dust-up involving beef imports. In the past, APHIS banned beef imports from Brazil and Argentina into the U.S. because of a history of the foot and mouth disease there. But last week, the USDA did an about-face and took a step toward allowing those imports. U.S. livestock groups are crying foul now. They say the action took place just before Memorial Day weekend and gave the appearance the government was hoping the move would go unnoticed. The U.S. dollar index continues to vacillate. It posted a lower close at the end of April, and for much of the month of May, it was higher. On Tuesday of this week, the index suffered a big loss. Analyst Sue Martin offers her opinion of how she is viewing the dollar index moving as this year progresses.
I still am very positive the dollar longer term. I still think we have a chance the dollar could rally to 107, 109. I guess I remain bullish there. The lowering of interest rates, if we start, the Federal Reserve continues to talk about and indicate maybe the fourth quarter of raising interest rates. To me, that's just when you've got the European Central Bank doing quantitative easing, the Bank of Japan's doing the same thing. To me, that still says if they're doing it, they don't think they're where they should be yet. And that continues to attract, I believe, foreign investment into the U.S., into the dollar.
Back to the trivia quiz to wrap things up for this week, and the right answer is D. 8 different types of soil can be found in Mississippi.
In the feature segment today, America's farmers are getting older even as the number of younger farmers has grown slightly. Less than 15% of U.S. farms list women as the principal operator. Anyone who's lived and worked on a farm recognizes the pivotal role played by women, and one Midwestern photographer is documenting their important contributions. Market to Market's Laurel Bauer-Bergmeyer explains.
It is a fact that the majority of farmers in the U.S. are white males, yet a growing number of women are joining their ranks. Women currently run about 14% of the nation's farms, up from only 5% in the 1980s. A large number of those operations run primarily by women tend to be smaller and more diverse. Even though there are grain and livestock operations among them, many are part of the growing organic and local foods movements. While women have always been an important part of agriculture, photographer Margie Geiler-Alanese felt they were mostly undocumented.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Watching this commercial about American farmers during the 2013 Super Bowl inspired Geiler-Alanese.
It was this moment where I was like, I've dealt with a lot of farm imagery throughout my career, and you just, whatever you see in any magazine or publication that you pick up, and you just never saw it. So I had this kind of aha moment, as silly as that might sound. I woke my husband up literally at like 2 in the morning, and I was like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start photographing women farmers, or women in agriculture, not just farmers, ranchers, whatever, in all types of agriculture.
And the project Farm Her was born. Farm Her documents the important role that women play in the agriculture system. Through photography, Guyler Alanese captures women producers running diverse farming operations.
Every single time I am super impressed by them, I will tell you that. They have a work ethic and they work so hard, and one thing that I will say I see every single time is that they have a passion and a love for what they do. It's hard work, day in, day out. There's no vacations, there's no breaks. You know, and so they love what they do, and I see that time and time again.
Landy McFarland Livingston is one of Guyler Alanese's subjects. She is a 6th-generation farmer and a 4th-generation Angus breeder. McFarland Livingston is co-owner of Hoover Angus Farm, a 400-head cattle ranch located in southern Iowa.
I really love Angus cattle. I think it's in my blood. I really do. My great-grandfather started the Angus herd 86 years ago. And, you know, I've been born and raised in it. I love the lifestyle. I love the genetics. I love the EPDs, what are expected progeny differences that help us make better beef. And I just love that. I love looking out on a pasture of cows and seeing them be happy, and so it's in my blood. I love it. Well, come here, girls.
McFarland Livingston's operation sells Angus genetics worldwide. It is one of the oldest purebred Angus herds in the nation, and she is proud to be part of Farm Her to showcase that.
Margie's images that I've seen of me are really, they're things that I wouldn't have expected. I mean, I know I do my chores every day, and she took pictures of me just doing my chores, going about my business. But she has a really unique ability to capture things. And when I looked at those pictures, I was like, wow, that is pretty cool, you know, and that's pretty cool for the consumer to see the things that we do on a daily basis that we don't even think about. I don't even think about, but they're part of what we do.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, that works sometimes. That's a girl.
Lois Reichert is another of Guyler Alanese's subjects. She's been running a dairy goat operation in rural Knoxville, Iowa for more than 8 years. Reichert's small herd of nearly 15 head is made up primarily of La Mancha goats.
Their personalities. They are, each has a very individual and fun personality. I like to say they're a combination between dogs and cats. They have the independence of cats, but the friendliness and most of the time desire to please of dogs. They're just fun, they're loving. I don't know, I still, every day, the most satisfaction I get in my day is looking out and looking at my healthy, happy animals. I don't know why, it just does something for me.
Reichert makes and sells cheeses from the goat milk her animals produce. She sells most of her cheese at the Des Moines Farmers Market, but also ships a weekly supply to a distributor in Chicago. While it was hard being photographed at first, Reichert says Guyler Alanese is good at putting a person at ease.
It was really embarrassing at first, because especially the great big picture of my face. What I really loved were the images she captured of what I do, of the goats, and like I told her, the brushes and the things like that. I was blown away the first time I saw her pictures. They were not at all what I expected. So after the initial embarrassment, it's really been delightful, because it's like I explained to people that this captures who I really am and what I do.
Guyler Alanese says Farm Her also gives women a voice. Many people who visit the website communicate with one another.
If it gives people comfort in that there's others out there doing what they're doing, I hear that all the time, that it's living in a rural area and working by yourself is isolating, and so seeing those other women or having that connection to them just visually is a sense of community.
Having begun in 2013, Farm Her is still in its infancy. To date, Guyler Alanese has photographed 32 women farmers, mostly in Iowa and the Midwest. In the future, she hopes to travel nationwide into other countries to profile many more women.
I feel personally that from a photographer standpoint that I'm so happy with how they're turning out, and I feel like they're actually showing what I see, or what you would see when you're on a farm. I think they show that, and so that makes me excited. Every time I take more pictures and look at them, I'm like, yay, this is what I wanted to have happen.
For Market to Market, I'm Laurel Bauer-Bergmeyer.
And you can watch the story on Farm Her again on our Farm Week website. That's farmweek.msucares.com. You can also watch Farm Week stories on our Farm Week Facebook page and YouTube. We'll also have a link to Farm Her. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, not many businesses survive for half a century, but this one has, and it's very familiar to South Mississippi cattlemen.
The Southeast Mississippi Livestock Barn of Hattiesburg celebrated its 50th anniversary recently. Southeast Mississippi Livestock has helped its customers on many occasions, including recovery from Hurricanes Camille and Katrina.
In Southern Gardening, we'll have some raised beds. You'll visit a garden where even the watering is automated.
And in the Food Factor, Natasha gives us some tips on getting the most out of your local farmers market.
For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.